Alrighty. Good afternoon, everyone. All right, it looks like we are now live and not facing any technical difficulties. So we'll go ahead and get started on this session. We will go over transcripts and explain how the process works with TMDSAS when sending in your transcripts. And so just a quick reminder, my name is Sulema Melendez, and I am the communication specialist for TMDSAS. We are on a different platform. We are on YouTube, and we'll be streaming our live sessions on here versus how we used to do it in the past on Facebook. If you are new to our Team DCS office hours, well, this is just a session that we host live weekly, just to go over any topics that are trending and answer any questions that you may have live for you guys. So for this topic and today's session, we're going to talk about transcripts and just explain how that process looks like. All right, let me see. Give me just a second. Make sure you can go to the next slide. All right, we'll just give it a few more minutes just in case anyone else is still hopping on to the live. And we'll get this started in a minute. All right, so in this session, we're going to talk about transcripts, like I mentioned earlier, and we'll go over when to send in your transcripts, the transcript request, what the transcript request form is. We'll talk about the TMDSAS transcript processing and what that looks like, so it is explained and you understand how the process goes. Checking the status of your transcripts and the frequently asked questions that we get about transcripts. And if you don't have time to see this at noon during Wednesday and this middle of the week, don't worry. We will have this session available for you to watch at a later time on our YouTube channel, as well as the Inside Health Education newsroom. And it will be available for you to listen as well on our Inside Health Education podcast. So if you may not be able to get to watch the whole entirety of this presentation, that is okay. It'll be available to watch or listen at a later time. So when to send in your transcripts? So we ask that you don't send in your transcripts unless it is requested by Team DCS only. So we do have a new transcript policy that went into effect for EY 2021 and onward. That is linked to the transcript policy page that we have on our teamdscs.com website. I'll share that with you guys at the end of the presentation. Oh, and just a quick reminder, if you have any questions during this time, go ahead and enter them into the chat, and I'll get to them at the end of this session. Once I cover everything, I'll go back and just make sure that I answer any additional questions that you might have had into the chat. And typically, I do have someone from the team who helps me out and gives this presentation. But unfortunately, right now, they are pretty busy with processing transcripts since we did receive a large volume of transcripts in the past couple of weeks. So right now, I'll just briefly go over what the process is. And I am familiar with it because I did have to be involved with it in past cycle. So I am familiar with the transcript process itself, and I'll be able to provide any additional guidance besides what's on here. And so going back into when to know when you need to send in your transcripts. So for dental and medical applicants, you will be requested to send in your transcripts only when you've been accepted. So once the schools have given you the, it's typically an email, I believe, they give you the notice that you've been accepted or you received a pre-match offer if you're a Texas resident. Then at that point, they also contact Team DCS, and then that triggers that request that will automatically go out to you. via email. For veterinary applicants, it looks a little different. That will be once you have been interviewed. The schools will let us know that you've been interviewed, and therefore then you will be waiting to see for an email request from TMDSAS. So definitely you want to save money because transcript costs do add up, especially if you have a lot of institutions that you have attended before. And transcripts submitted prior to this request will not be guaranteed to be kept on file. And we will also not confirm the receipt of those transcripts. So you definitely want to wait until you are requested to send in your transcripts before doing so yourself, because it won't benefit you in the long run. And so what this transcript request looks like, it'll be an automated email request from info@tmdsas.com. In this email request, it'll include a link to our transcript policy information. That link also provides some details on how to send your transcript by mail or electronically. I did want to point out that for electronic transcripts, you want to make sure that it doesn't have a viewing expiration date, as those are not accepted by TMDSAS. And the other piece of information that will be included in the email request will be to send in your transcripts within 30 days of receiving this email request. However, this is a preferred time frame. So it is preferred that you send in your transcripts within 30 days of that email request. However, you will not be penalized for sending in your transcripts after those 30 days, nor will this affect your pre-match offer or acceptance or interview. This is a separate process that does not involve your school. This is a process internally with TMDSAS. So this will not affect any pre-match offers, acceptances, or interviews or anything like that. So no need to worry. It's not going to affect anything, any kind of acceptance that you already have in any way. So the transcript request form is something that you will also find in that link that was, and which I will also include at the end of this presentation. So in that link, you will find the transcript request form. And what that is just a sheet of paper that we provide from Team DCS, and you'll fill it out, and it needs to be included for both mail-in transcripts and electronic transcripts. So for mail-in transcripts, you will go to tmdsas.com using that link that I will provide at the end of the presentation, and you'll fill out the form, and then you'll email it or fax it to your registrar's office, depending on the preferred method of communication to your that is preferred by your registrar's office. And then you'll request that it be attached with your transcripts. And with electronic transcripts, you will also go through the same process, fill out the form, and then depending on if you're using your school or through an electronic service, you will need to upload an attachment. So the attachment is an option for you to typically in clearinghouse, parchment, and credentials. That's the most common and popular transcript services that we are familiar with, and we hear about our applicants using those services. Typically, they will allow you to upload an attachment, and so that is where you would upload this transcript request form. If it's not an option, typically those transcript delivery services do provide a cover page that is attached to your transcript. So if that is not an option that is given to you at the time that you're making the request, this should be fine. They typically add that cover page for you. And so this is what the transcript request form looks like. So as you can see at the top, it'll have the space for you to enter your Team DSAS ID number, AMC ID number if applicable. You'll want to click on the checkbox entry year 2022. And then the checkbox underneath typically doesn't apply to most of our applicants during this time, because that is typically used if you are either part of Academic Fresh Start, JAMP, or any other early decision programs that do require you to send in your transcripts earlier because of a specific deadline earlier on in the cycle. For those applicants, yes, you do need to check off that checkbox. But if that doesn't apply to you, which typically it doesn't for most of our applicants, no need to check off that checkbox. You'll fill out your information under student information, and then you'll see that under student ID, that is actually the ID from your institution. So it's not your Team DSA's ID number. This is your student ID at the school in which you are attending and are requesting the transcript to be delivered. And then you see at the bottom, it says, Dear Registrar, I hereby request that you forward my official transcripts to Team DCS. We do have the two mailing addresses listed below. Either one is fine. Most popular one is to use the PO box. But down here at the bottom, you'll see the signature. That is your signature. That is not your registrar's signature. That is attached with the request that you are giving your registrar to go ahead and mail in your transcripts. So that is you signing off on giving permission for them to do so. So again, that signature blank is for you, not your registrar's office. And just a little mention about the transcript request form. If you've already sent in your transcripts and it doesn't have that form attached, don't worry, it's fine. If it doesn't have it, you don't have to resend your transcripts. However, it is to your best benefit to make sure that the transcript request form is attached to your transcripts, because that does allow for TMDCS and our team to match your transcripts to your application a lot quicker because the information is already laid out on that form. So the TMDSAS transcript processing times are as follows. So for electronic transcripts, those are typically processed and uploaded to an application within 7 to 10 business days. And mail transcripts can take anywhere between about 21 business days for that, for those to be processed and uploaded to the application. And the reason why we highlight business is because we're not open over the weekend. So you'll definitely want to make sure that you keep in mind that it will only be the Monday through Friday dates in which you can count how many days until you can expect to receive an email confirmation that it's been that your transcripts have been processed and uploaded to the application. So this is what our transcript process looks like. So it'll start off with you first as the applicant receiving the email request to send in your transcripts. And so you fill out the transcript request form. You either send it to your school's registrar's office and ask that it be attached to your transcripts, or you contact the transcript delivery service, upload your transcript request form as an attachment, and then it gets sent off to TMDSAS. Between now and then, you are most likely to receive a email confirmation from either your school or your transcript delivery service that your transcripts were indeed delivered to TMDSAS. So I would definitely highly recommend that you keep track of this email and that you have it with you, because at this specific point is whenever TMDSAS would have your transcripts, and then the processing time will begin. So let's say that you have already made the request to send your transcripts to TMDSAS as of yesterday, January the 26th. And then today, earlier this afternoon, you received an email from either your school or the delivery service that your transcripts were delivered to TMDSAS. So that would be that the next following day, the 26th, was whenever you received this email confirmation. As of the 26th and counting for this particular scenario, since it was sent in electronically, you'll want to use this day of the 26th and count 7 to 10 business days. So not including the weekends, but 7 to 10 business days to get an idea of when you can expect to receive an email confirmation from TMDSAS that your transcript has been processed and uploaded to the application. This is especially important because we've had a lot of questions from applicants recently who have been sending in their transcripts and ask the next day, contact us via message or phone or email the very next day if we have their transcripts. Unfortunately, that's not the best practice. We do ask that you give it the specific business days that it will take for us to process that on our end. What happens is when TMDSAS receives your transcripts, they automatically go into the queue for processing. So we don't send you a notification that we have your transcript. Once we receive a transcript, it goes automatically into a queue. And that queue, depending on how long it'll take, depending on the transcript form that it was delivered in. So electronic transcripts can take anywhere between 7 to 10 business days to be processed and uploaded to the application. And mailed transcripts can take about 21 business days. That one is longer because, of course, it has to be mailed. We have to receive it. So it does take a little bit longer for those. But the processing time typically for electronic transcripts, again, will be 7 to 10 business days. Mailed in transcripts, about 21 business days. After that time period has passed and the processing has been completed, transcripts are uploaded to the application. So It's not enough about just receiving your transcripts. We also have to process them and upload them to your application. So it is only then up until that point that you as an applicant can receive an email confirming that the transcript was uploaded to your application. And then at that point, you can then go into your status page in your TMDSAS application portal and see that indeed your transcripts are listed on there, and the day reflected will show the date in which your transcript was uploaded to your application. So this date will not show the date in which we received your transcripts initially. The date reflected will actually show when your transcript had finished processing and had been uploaded to your application. I did want to make a quick note that this is not applicable to veterinary applicants. It's a little different, and I'll explain why it's a little different. You actually won't be able to see this reflected on your status page just yet. So when checking the status of your transcripts, you'll want to sign in into your TMDSAS application portal. And then you'll click on your status page, which is a link located on the right-hand side of the menu page on your application portal. And then you'll scroll down towards the middle of the page under supporting documents. You see your letters of evaluation, official transcripts, and your test scores. And again, so the date that is reflected on under the column date received next to your transcript will be the date that your transcript was had finished processing and had been uploaded to your application. So it won't show you the day that we received it. It will show you the date in which it was processed and uploaded to your application. Veterinary applicants will not have this option to see the transcripts under the status page, and that is because for veterinary applicants, if you remember earlier, veterinary applicants are asked to send in their transcripts once they have been interviewed. So not when you've been accepted, but when you've been interviewed. And that unfortunately does not create that change on your status page. So you will continue to see the message that your transcripts are not required at this time. But go ahead and disregard that message, because if you are a veterinary applicant, if you've already been interviewed and you received the email request from TMDSAS, that is your go ahead, send in your transcript notification, and you can disregard the message that is on your status page. It won't be updated until your school changes your status to accepted later on in the cycle. Only then will you be able to also see your transcripts in the status page. So the best the best advice that I can give for veterinary applicants to get an idea of when you can expect to receive a confirmation that we have your transcripts would be to refer to the transcript processing times and the email that you got confirming that the transcripts were delivered to TMDSAS. Use that and count how many business days it'll take for us to process your transcripts and upload them to the application. And then that can give you an idea of when to expect to receive an email notification from TMDSAS. And I did want to just recap again. We highly, highly recommend that you wait until you give it the appropriate time frame. So for electronic transcripts, give it 7 to 10 business days, and mail-in transcripts, give it 21 business days before contacting TMDSAS. They should be uploaded to your process and uploaded to your application during that time. However, if it doesn't after that time period has passed, then you can go ahead and send us a message in your portal and let us know that you'd like to inquire about your transcripts. But other than that, give it the appropriate time that it needs before contacting TMDSAS. And so I'll just briefly go over some of the top transcript frequently asked questions that we receive before checking in the chat to see if we have any questions. But some of our top questions that we have been getting in the past few weeks have been when applicants call in and they mention that their school has told them to send in their transcripts to update their fall grades. Again, you do not need to send in any transcripts unless requested by TMDSAS and TMDSAS only. Typically, when the schools mention to send in your transcripts to update your grades, that is referring to you updating your information. So updating your grades that you received in the fall and updating any planned coursework that you had for spring 2022. So if that's the case, if that's what they have asked of you, then you'll need to go into your application portal, send a message to TMDSAS. And if you want to change your planned coursework that you initially entered, you'll need to send us that message and request that your spring 2022 term be unlocked so you can make changes. For grades, you can actually do those yourself. You typically are instructed to in the beginning of the cycle, you're instructed to enter your grades that you do not have grades for, since it's for current. If it's for planned coursework, it'll be labeled as NY, so not yet reported. And so if you have those listed as your grades for fall 2021, you can actually go ahead and change those to a letter grade. And if you do have any additional questions on how to do that, there is an email that was sent out to all our applicants that submitted an application about 2 weeks ago. So definitely check your inbox and or spam or junk folders if you don't see it in your inbox. But there is an email with specific instructions on how to make those changes yourself and how to contact Team DSES to unlock those terms. And then the second question that we typically get is that when they have an applicant has sent in the transcripts, the transcript delivery service says that the transcript has been received by Team DSAS, but the transcript still says not received under the application status section, which is what we saw in the previous slide. And it says it still hasn't been received. Again, make sure that you have confirmed that you have received that email confirmation from the delivery service, and then use that to count the business days that your transcripts are most likely to take place into the processing, and when you can expect to receive that email confirming that it has been processed and uploaded to your application. So again, once you receive this confirmation from your transcript delivery service or your school, keep that and use it to count how many business days you can predict to receive that confirmation from Team DSAS that your transcripts have been processed and uploaded. And if it hasn't been the 7 to 10 business days for electronic transcripts or 21 business days for mail-in transcripts, go ahead and give it that time. And only then after that time has passed, should you contact Team DSAS. The third question that we get a lot is, do I need to send in a transcript request form if I'm sending my transcripts electronically? The answer is yes. You still need to upload that attachment onto the transcript delivery service. So that way there is a transcript request form attached to your transcript, even if it's sent electronically. Again, this is preferred because it does allow for our team to process transcripts a lot quicker and match your transcript to your application because the information is already on that form. If you are not given this option, that is okay. Typically in those cases, the transcript delivery service already provides that cover page for us to use as a reference and match it to your application. How will I know once Team DSAS has finished processing my transcripts? Again, after that time period has passed that we have indicated for processing times for electronic and mail transcripts, after that time has passed, will you receive the confirmation that your transcripts have been processed and they have been uploaded to your application. Until then, don't reach out just yet. Give it the time period that it needs. And after that, you still haven't received a notification, then you can reach out to Team DSAS. The fifth question we get is, I saw that transcripts need to be sent within 30 days. Will the schools take away my acceptance if I don't send in my transcripts within that time? So the transcript process is separate from your schools, from the matriculating school that you will be attending. And this is just for purposes of making sure that you've entered everything as accurately as possible on your application as it is displayed on your transcript. So this is something that is handled on the Team DSAS side, not your matriculating school. So even if your transcripts are not sent within those 30 days, that is, it's preferred that you sent those. It will not harm you, it will not penalize you, and it will not cause you to lose an acceptance or anything like that. Again, it's a separate process handled on the Team DSAS side only, and that will not interfere with your acceptance whatsoever. In fact, once you receive the acceptance, that is yours. It is not removed. There's typically schools won't take that away from you unless under extreme circumstances, but it will not be because of your transcripts being delayed. The number 6 question that we get is, should I send in my high school transcript for my AP credits? The answer is no. TMDSAS does not need your high school transcript. The only reason why you may need your high school transcript is only at the beginning of the application cycle when you're filling out your section of the high school information, which asks for information that can be typically found in your high school transcript, such as the school rank and how many people were in your class. But other than that, that would probably be the only reason why you use a high school transcript in the first place. But TMDCS does not need the high school transcript at all. Typically, your AP credits, if you received credit from your main institution for these AP classes that you took, those would be listed on their transcript. So you might want to double check that your main institution does have your AP credits listed out. And we do provide some information about that and what to look out for. And again, I can just share the link with you all at the end of the presentation, which we're almost there. And then lastly, the question that we often get, typically from our veterinary applicants, I sent in my transcript, and when I check my status page, it reads transcripts are not required at this time. So did I send in my transcripts by mistake? The answer is no. Again, veterinary applicants are asked to send in transcripts once you have been interviewed. So the best way to think about it is if you've been interviewed and you receive the email from Team DCS requesting that you send in your transcripts, you do need to send them in, even if it's not reflected on your status page, because that won't be updated until the schools have changed your status to accepted. Only then will your transcript information show up on your status page, and you will be able to confirm that they are listed and they were received. But in this case, since you do not have access to the status page and it accurately reflects the transcripts that are needed from you, the best piece of advice is to give it the time period that it needs for the specific transcript that you sent in, whether it was electronic or by mail. Give it the 7 to 10 business days or 21 business days before contacting Team DSAS about your transcripts. So even if your status page does say that your transcripts are not required at this time, you can disregard that message because if you've been interviewed and you have received an email request from Team DCS as a veterinary applicant, you do need to send in those transcripts, and you'll just need to be on the lookout for the time period, the appropriate time before contacting Team DSAS. And so that is it for the presentation that we had, just covering the main topics for transcripts and how the transcript process works. So I'm gonna go ahead and just double check to make sure if we have any questions in the chat. Okay, so it doesn't look like we have any, but I will go ahead and enter the links that I mentioned that I would provide, and I'll just go ahead and have them in the chat. And if you watch this at a later time or listen to this at a later time and you have any questions about your transcripts or when to send those in or any additional questions regarding your application, go ahead and send a message in your Team DSCS application portal and we can have someone help you out with that. That is the best way to contact Team DCS. Once you are a current applicant, it is preferred that you use that method. That is the quickest way to contact us. Not by mail, not by email, sorry. It's typically the mode of communication for current applicants is preferred that you use the messaging system in your portal. Okay, and so the link in the chat, again, it's just a link to the transcript policy information and where you will find additional information about how to send in your transcripts, find the transcript request form that you'll need to download and fill out to attach with your transcripts. And of course, any other information such as the mailing address, as well as some of the frequently asked questions about transcripts, which will also include some of the ones that we went over in today's session, will also be located on that page. So that is definitely the best place to check for transcript requests and information. And then, of course, if you did have any questions, you can send us a message in your application portal. All right, so it is 12:30. It was kind of a quick presentation, but I hope that was helpful. And if you do watch at a later time or listen at a later time, and you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to us via your TMDSAS application portal in the internal messaging system. And then just bear with us in the meantime, since right now we are pretty busy with transcripts, so our team is processing those as quickly as possible. And again, the best way to contact us regarding your transcripts would be sending a message in your application portal. I'm going to go ahead and check one last time to see if we have any questions. Okay, so it doesn't look like we have any. And I hope that anyone who does look at this later on will be able to get a better understanding of the transcript request forms, and just in general, the TMDSAS transcript process, and just understand and get a better idea so it's not as confusing as it may sound at the beginning. But I wish you all the best of luck, and just be on the lookout for that transcript email request from TMDSAS. Again, it'll come from info@tmdsas.com. If you don't have it in your inbox, just double check your spam and or junk folders. And I guess that is all we have for you all today. So just be on the lookout for when we will have our next TMDSAS office hour session. We typically will have the information in our Inside Health Education newsroom. Let me go ahead and just enter the link there onto the chat so you can keep an eye out for future sessions that will be coming up. And again, these are offered based on the types of questions that we receive and trending topics that we see that need to be addressed and can be addressed live for you guys. Okay, so the link right here in the chat. Okay, so that link will take you to our Inside Health Education newsroom, where you can be on the lookout for the next office hour session that we'll schedule, and we will post about on that page, as well as any additional resources such that you might be looking for, either as a current applicant or a future prospective applicant in a future cycle. We will have additional content posted on that platform as well. So it is also a good resource to use during the cycle. And since we don't have any questions at the time, I'll go ahead and end the session now. Again, if you do have any further questions later down the road, you are more than welcome. If you are a current applicant, to send us a message in your TMDSAS application portal. If you are a prospective applicant, then you can send an email, since you don't have a application or an application portal just yet created. And again, I wish you all the best of luck, and just be on the lookout for the next office hour session. I'll see you guys later. Bye.